Trial was wild today, I ain't gonna lie. Diddy trial was wild today. We seen more escorts going up there and talking. The one that spoke today was the Punisher. Hey, yo, Paul. Guy named the Punisher also did an interview after. And he wrote a book called something about meat in a freezer. He'll talk about it in a bit. But he spoke about his encounters with Diddy, with Cassie. How did he see her feeling and looking? Was it like she was against her will and he was forcing himself upon her? That sounds crazy. Imagine being on a stand and being like, yeah, she didn't want to do nothing. Diddy told me to do it, so I just took it. Take that. Like, do you got immunity? Like, ain't you gonna get in trouble for that? Let's see what he has to say. I haven't watched this full clip, but I am interested. I saw some clips going viral online about this. Let me know your thoughts down below. Don't forget we're doing that giveaway at 10,000 subscribers. If you want to be a part of that, all you got to do is sub up to the channel, comment down below, like the video, take a screenshot, DM it to me on IG, and you will be added to a rap. Let's see what the Punisher had to say about his nights with Cassie and Diddy.
And after Cassie's mom stepped down, a man who goes by the name, wait for it, The Punisher. The Punisher is an exotic dancer and former sex worker whose real name is Sheree Hayes. Mr. Hayes told the jury that he got his nickname playing basketball. But his photos, they seem to tell a different story for why he may be using that name today. Kind of safe for work, almost not safe for work. I wouldn't put it up at work, but that's the Punisher, y'all. Punisher testified that he was hired by Diddy and Cassie, 12 different, and he was meant to create a sexy scene that would last for hours. All the shots in these episodes, he didn't call them freak-offs, but he described what we've heard as freak-offs. He never saw any cameras, he said. He didn't see any violence. And he said, although Cassie would sometimes wince or sigh at some of the sex directions that came from Diddy, he said it didn't seem as though Cassie was there against her will. You know, corroborate the freak-offs and what happened in the freak-offs, but that whole business about, to him, he wasn't sure if Cassie was into it or not, but he did hear that she winced and that she sighed as Diddy gave a lot of those directions. By the way,
inside, is that enough to say that she didn't want to do it, or is that more that she just didn't want to do what Diddy was asking in that moment?
Also said that he never saw Diddy take drugs, never saw that he seemed drunk or high, which is exactly what prosecutors are trying to show. That this was not just an out-of-control, party of an enlisted megastar, but instead was a clear-eyed criminal enterprise. And I mentioned it off the top of the show, so I'm happy now to introduce the man who spent the better part of today on the witness stand. Sheree, the Punisher Hayes, joins me now live. Mr. Hayes, it's really good of you to be here. Thank you so much for doing this. I can imagine you've had a hell of a day.
Definitely a challenging day today.
Tell me a little bit about it. Like, how was it? How'd you feel up there? Like, give me a summary of a description of what that day was like for you.
Well, it's very nerve-wracking. There's nothing you can do to really prepare yourself for that type of environment. Very tense scenario, very serious atmosphere, and I just kept a mind frame of from the time I've been contacted by investigators, it's just give my version of the truth, what I can remember to the best of my ability, and that's what I tried to do today.
So I know that you talked about this on the stand, but I want to just sort of flesh it out with you a little, because we get courts, there's no cameras in court, so it's really good to have you in person. When you say that it was clear that Diddy was directing the sex scenes and the sex acts, because as you described, it started off as just a sexy scene, but it progressed into actual sex over the course of the freak-offs. What kind of direction did you get the sense? Like aggressive, mean, demanding, or just, hey, this is kinky, let's do this?
Not even as I described in the text. They were very subtle. Mr. Combs was always basically across the room, and it would be in a low tone, and it would just be suggestive. It was nothing aggressive, nothing that...
Low tone, you think it was low tone so he didn't sound aggressive, or low tone so the dude doesn't know, like, Diddy, is that you under that mask? Like, is that why he was in a low tone, you think? Or was it, just cool, calm, and collective, and he was lit?
Create some sort of scenario that this was, like, unnatural between them. Obviously, a sexual scenario with a couple is not the norm, but it's something that I had heard about before, and there's some couples that get into this, and in hindsight, if there were no accusations, I would have saw it as completely natural.
That's big. That's big. And if he said that on the stand, also Paul's on saying big that many times. But for him to say something like that in a case where they want him and he's, again, on the side of the state, and the prosecutor rather say, for him to say, to him it seemed natural, nothing was off, me that's a bit straight.
Can you repeat that? You would have seen it as what?
If there was no accusations, like in hindsight, all this stuff is in hindsight, like in the moment, I didn't see it as anything but a couple doing something risque, and Cassie as a partner trying to create a fantasy for who I believe was her husband, and for the majority of this.
So at one point in your testimony, I think you mentioned, and I was just reading transcript because of course there's no cameras, you mentioned that Sean Combs was slightly aggressive in his tone, and that Cassie would sigh or wince at some of his direction. Can you explain that a little bit more?
Yeah, I understand that you're getting it in parts. It was quite a long testimony. When the sighing and the wincing was associated with, some of the direction was very specific, and it could be one after the other in terms of move the candle to the left, move it a little more, move it a little more, and now move your body a little more, stuff like that. And it was kind of unnatural for a scenario where you're trying to create a sexual situation. So my understanding or my interpretation of it in the moment was frustration with the repeated directions.
That's what literally I said from the beginning. Is she tight because she's doing it? Tight because she got the diddler behind her trying to think that he's directing a music video. Yeah, move it a little bit to the left, daddy. Daddy, hold on, grab ass again, daddy. Daddy, slap that right cheek, but then lick the left. No. I said slap the right, then lick the left, not the left and lick the right. Relax, my dude. Let me just be natural.
So it felt to you when you were there like it was frustration, but it did not feel to you when you were there like she did not want to be in the situation she was in with you. The other question I have for you is,
What are you looking like? That's not the answer she wanted.
I think I read that this began in was it right, 2012, that the first time you were hired?
That's correct.
So that would seem fairly early on, perhaps in the Free Cops in their relationship. To me, like in the beginning, you did not actually have any kind of sex with Cassie in front of Diddy in those hotel rooms. It was just performative, but that it graduated in the later Free Cops to sexual acts. Did it seem to you, now that you're hearing a lot more of the story, that this was the beginning of the whole Freak Off adventure for them, that they were kind of figuring it out themselves as well, and that maybe it progressed a lot further and got a lot less appealing to Cassie, maybe later after you had moved on and weren't in the picture?
So I'm instructed to not necessarily follow any of the details, so I just really know what my interaction with was, and it was always like almost a start over scenario, because like I said in my testimony, it wasn't consistent. Like I would get called maybe once every 4 months, so long periods of time would go in between. So it would definitely be kind of like an odd situation, but not in a way where I can assess. There was some sort of progression that went on from the time we started to the time we ended. It was pretty consistent all the way through.
Well, may I commend you in following the orders of the court and not having consumed a lot of information about this before your testimony, because that would have been an easy question for you to answer had you known all the background, right, that we're all learning in court. So congratulations and good for you. You're a model witness, and I appreciate you doing that. That's true justice. I do want to press a little bit on this aspect of from the first freak off until the last freak off that you did. Did you sense that they were getting more practiced at it and that it was a lot more sexual right away? First it was performative and just, a show, and then it became actual sex towards the end. Was there anything different between episode 1 and, say, episode, maybe maximum 12? That seems to be the max number that you performed with them. Did 12 seem a lot more machine that was ready to go?
Actually, the opposite. It was very routine, like a very consistent routine. It always started the same, some sort of a scenario where we would be across from each other on couches that were covered with sheets. It always had to start with a baby oil, with me rubbing it on myself, her doing the same, escalating to us rubbing each other, and then escalating into small sex acts, leading into actual penetration. It's very methodical and pretty much the same. I can't say there was a different energy from start to finish. It pretty much stayed the course of whatever the criteria was from the first time going forward. And the first time was actually the only time there was an actual sexual interaction, and it was offered, as I said in my testimony, but I declined. One
of the other escorts who had done some of the same things in these freak offs that you were hired for said that at one point, Sean Combs was very violent with Cassie, and that he took her in the other room, and that he heard slapping and beating, and that when they came out, Diddy wanted them to continue and finish strong. That was his words, apparently, allegedly, finish strong. But that the male escort couldn't. He said, I had erectile dysfunction at that point because of what I'd gone through. And I know, you wrote a whole book called In Search of Freezer Meat about that, about erectile dysfunction.
Not be into me. Where's my meat? A story of a male mental health crisis caused by erectile dysfunction, and the only true cure no one is talking about, a penis implant. Oh no, that's crazy.
You mentioned that it actually happened to you during one of your freak offs with Diddy and Cassie, that you had the same kind of issue. Was it at all based on violence or aggression?
No, it was not. It was not based on violence and aggression. I think for me, there was no true, at times, for me, I could not get into a place of intimate connection. There was always a discomfort with, obviously, a male partner just being present, period. And then, like I said, with the direction, the move to the left, the move to the right, to do this, to do that, in terms of me maintaining like in a erotic space of being turned on or whatever. It was difficult. So it was just more of, it felt like acting opposed to a actual natural sexual scenario.
Did you ever know another escort by the name of Jules in LA?
The truth of the matter is, I was in a naive state. My very first interaction, I was told it was...
Yo, I'm not texting. I'm just making sure what time that Knicks game starts. I'm about to get out of here in like 20.
She went by Janet. I had no idea who they were. And she introduced herself as Janet and said this was her birthday and this was something special her and her husband was doing. So the majority of the time, actually the entire time, even when I found out who they were initially, I really believed I was the only guy they were involved with. Thought this was some...
But had you ever heard of an escort named Jules?
I have not. I'm not in the male escort business. I'm actually a stripper that took a proposition, but is not somebody I would commingle with in terms of interactions.
And then last quick question, sir. Did the feds offer you immunity at all at any step of the way as they were?
No, there was no talk of immunity of anything. From what I understood, I was not charged with any crime or there was any issue where I would need immunity in regards to this matter.
Sheree Hayes, I can't thank you enough for being so forthcoming and candid and agreeing to talk to me on this program tonight. I really appreciate it. I also appreciate you walking into federal court and getting up on a witness stand and talking about stuff that's pretty uncomfortable. You know, the justice system relies on witnesses being fair and truthful and doing what you did, no matter how hard it is, and it is real hard. So thank you so much.
Oh, no, my pleasure. I appreciate you having me, and thank you so much.
Can I ask you one quick question? Do you think Sean Combs is guilty of sex trafficking and the crimes that he's actually accused of and racketeering?
I mean, again, like I said, I really, this has been a high place of anxiety for me. So it wasn't just being a good witness and follow directions. I really avoid the details. I think the totality of the situation for everybody involved is just extremely sad, cool, and just a black eye experience on everybody involved, and I just think it's unfortunate. I don't have the legal understanding to levy the evidence and come to a determination of what I think or don't think. I just think it's an unfortunate situation for everyone.
That was a good response.
Well, I am super appreciative. Thank you again, Sheree Hayes.
Yo, my last question to him would have been a bit more like, you said that you didn't know it was them in the beginning, right? Cool, I understand that. That makes a lot of sense. But how did you end up knowing that it was them? Because then he said even after he knew it was them. So what told you? What you see? A picture of Diddy? You saw plaques on the wall or something? He said hotels. Actually, no, that can't be the way. Did they get comfortable with you after a while and just let it be known? That's one thing that I would love to know. How did you go from not knowing it was Daddy, knowing it was Diddy and Cassie? But one spoke. One has spoke. And we also heard Jonathan, what was his name, Obi or something, the guy that was down in Miami. Remember his old one? Diddy's part of the Boulay. DJ Khaled and Rick Ross, they all gay. Remember that interview? That's the only two times we've ever heard any male performer speak actually about the freak off.
We say good buddies, okay? They're gay.
Who?
Both. Diddy and Ross. And Khaled. They're all gay, okay?
DJ Khaled, Rick Ross,
Yeah.
and P. Diddy?
Yeah.
They all gay?
Yeah.
Gotcha.
I had sex with Cassie and Sean. Basically, he would masturbate and tell me what to do with Cassie. I had like 15 encounters, and I heard a lot.
Oh, hidden in plain sight.
It's hidden.
I think I see what you're saying.
Okay, how do I know this?
Yeah, that's what I want to know. How do you know this?
Do you know Sean Combs?
Puff Daddy?
Yeah.
P. Diddy, whatever you call yourself these days. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, he's part of what's called the Boulay. The Boulay is a branch of the Illuminati.
Okay.
It's basically.
Let me know down below your thoughts about it. And they saying that Kid Cudi's gonna be the next one to take the stand and speak about the car being blown up and attempts on his life. This is getting real interesting. Oh man, as much as I pray that, I wish there was cameras in there. I wish there was cameras in there.